Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Godzilla podcast. I am Joe.
I'm Drew.
And Godzilla is apparently in the room
stomping
through
this studio.
We are doing the commentary / podcast over Godzilla 1985. That is the Raymond Burr version.
Finally bringing it to you.
It is only available on VHS, but we have a questionable DVD source.
Yeah,
so
it's just weird. You start this thing up, it says DVD Toho, which is non-existent, doesn't make any sense. Showa Video, which I have no idea what that is. Yep. It's a fan's recreation of something, but it's not real. It's not real. It's not real, but yet we're watching it.
It's not.
I don't know.
None of this is real, Drew. Life isn't real.
I don't know what these people did to get this. I got it off of a website, like I think it was iOffer. There was 3 different sellers of the same movie. When you purchase it, it's like you have to go through a third-party source to contact your...
They have to steal your credit card information.
Oh, dude, it's horrible. They have to, like, they can only do it through PayPal.
For some reason,
even when they have your payment information, you still have to, like, contact them to make sure it's going to get delivered to you. It's weird.
You gotta go meet a guy in an alley.
A la the internet, yeah. The internet's form of meeting in an alley, basically.
Well, let's get this thing started real quick.
Yes.
We are at the 000 mark.
Mm-hmm.
Ish. Yeah, sure, deposit. No. There's no menu.
It was 0000.
Let us start in 3, 2, 1, go. Just kidding. Go. All right.
All right. So this movie, actually this podcast, sponsored you. I mean, we've loved them from the beginning of this podcast, Joe. I believe you. Did you actually get one?
I have here. I am drinking a Dr. Pepper.
Joe,
an ice cold. You got just all 27
this
flavors.
Delicious beverage. Isn't it 23? Is it really 27? I don't know. It's 20 something.
It's 20 something.
I remember days.
This podcast is brought to you by, but not really brought to you by. We might get sued. Brought to you by Dr. Pepper,
the thirst quencher. I think every single brand of beverage uses that. The thirst quencher.
Some ice cold, beautiful Dr. Pepper.
I really like the beginning of this. It's like slowly carving out the word Godzilla in like flames. The feeling, the cinematic feeling I'm getting from this film versus the original, and there was a lot in the original. Red. It's got a red palette to it.
It does have a red thing going on.
Like, I mean, in the original, you got that in the scenes of Godzilla destroying Tokyo. And, like, there was a lot of fire and red lighting around him, especially near the ending, but the climax as well. This one really runs with it as well. Oh, Joe, this movie's not well received by anybody.
No. And it's funny, the original one, which I really like, you're kind of lukewarm on.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny that, like, you kind of felt on that one, and then we watched this one, it's like, ooh.
Yeah. You know. Oh,
I haven't seen this since I was a kid, Drew.
I meant to do this. Okay. So there's one special feature on this DVD. It's the trailer.
Oh, yeah.
Joe, this is the announcer's, what he says in that trailer. It's really funny. In 1956, he first appeared on motion picture screens across the country. His impact on audiences was instantaneous and unprecedented. His acting techniques were revolutionary. His presence overwhelming. He possessed more raw talent than any performer of his generation. He soon became an international legend, a giant who took the world by storm. Then, suddenly, at the height of his fame, he retired from motion pictures. Now he is back, and he's more magnificent, more glamorous, more devastating than ever. Prepare yourself. The greatest star of all has returned.
There's so many lies in that trailer.
There's a lot, and also it only shows like some cropped still scenes of like close-ups of Godzilla. It like barely showed. It didn't show anything from the movie, but a few Godzilla shots.
So this one starts with the ship thing. Although I don't think we get the. Do we get the explosion? I can't remember. I'm not even gonna.
We get an explosion, but instead of cutting to the reaction shot of the crew on board this vessel on the stormy sea when they first see Godzilla, this explosion, we cut to Raymond Burr.
Yeah, Raymond Burr and his Saigon moment there.
So people misinformed, claimed or thought that Raymond Burr was not very affectionate towards that original, well, the adaptation of the original film that he was involved in, Godzilla King of the Monsters.
Really?
No, he I never
heard that.
Well, here you go. Contrary to popular belief, Raymond Burr was actually quite proud of his association with Godzilla since his debut in the Americanized version of the film from 1956.
Oh, here it is, dude. Here it is.
See,
Saigon.
it's just this extreme close-up of Raymond Burr's eyes as he slowly wipes his face down. He has his hands over his eyes, slow wipe down. You want to know what movie I just watched, Joe?
Did you watch Apocalypse Now? Because this is what this is.
Face Off.
Oh,
there's a lot.
Love that movie.
They take the actual in real life John Travolta face wiping thing he does, where he wipes down
his face waterfall.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. But they made that a point in the movie, like so when they're switching faces, his family knows it's him because he wiped. They're like, no one else would do a face waterfall.
Oh my gosh, I love that movie.
And then at the end of the movie, when his daughter does it to the like now adopted son of the bad guy. It's like, this is our family thing, face waterfall. Anyway, it was kind of that, because he's covering his eyes and he wipes his face down.
This is going to be a loose commentary, I'm going to tell you that.
Well, there are facts
was that
on it.
not the most amazing, stupid action movie you've ever seen?
Yeah,
It's great.
It was great. A good movie. And I don't even I started to try to watch Bad Boys 2. I mean, these are in different veins. One's like is it John Woo?
Yeah, that was John Woo, and Bad Boys 2 is Michael Bay.
Yeah, but I'm just talking big action movies.
Yeah.
Not generally a fan. It's not, they don't interest me as much as like a slow burn sci-fi.
As good as the boat chase in Face Off. I know.
And you told me that a boat goes through a boat, and a boat does go through a boat.
And you've never seen anything like that before.
Some crazy practical stunt work. So the difference was, instead of showing the cruise, we're back to Godzilla 85, guys. We're getting away from the Michael Bay cast, which we tend to drift off and do sometimes. And then we, mention Bad Boys 2. The reaction shot of the crew cut out in favor of a Raymond Burr psychic connection to. I feel a
what
disturbance.
Does he feel it?
He feels a disturbance in the force.
Disturbance of the force. But yeah, dude, there's a mirror. It's taking it's a less well filmed version of the Apocalypse Now kind of opening where he's like looking through actually in Apocalypse Now he's like looking up into the fans and he's thinking of helicopters. But in this, and then in a later part of the scene he looks through the blinds and sees Saigon, and then the voiceover, I'm gonna curse here a little bit, the voiceover goes, Saigon shit. And so that's what that reminded me of when he takes his hand down and he's looking through the blinds.
Well,
I was like, wow.
So to get straight to facts, Raymond Burr in this film, I read in one place that it took 3 days to film his parts in this film. Okay, most places though cite 1 day. He got paid reportedly $50,000 for 1 day of shooting.
Hold on, Drew. Let me get a. Would you like some Dr. Pepper, Drew?
Oh, I have a Monster here. Thank you, though. Oh, crap. We're not sponsored by Monster.
No, we're not. Monster is bad for you. Get some Dr. Pepper.
Yeah, because that'll set your bowels straight with that.
Okay, go ahead. So he shot in 3 days or 1 day?
1 day, $50,000 reportedly. That's what I gathered. 3 days to film all the additional scenes, however. Laying bare bones facts here. They used some additional score from a movie called like DEFCON 4, like replacing score from this Return of Godzilla,
they said
aka
they used
Godzilla
a lot of
84.
the score from the original.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't really notice too much of a difference. They cut out a lot of this where we're at the point of the film when our reporter buddy who finds the shipwrecked crew, not really shipwrecked,
and they're all like zombified.
Yeah, they're they've been sucked of their liquids. They shortened the Shakira's giant mutated sea louse scene, and they changed their cries. I felt shorter. I kind of noticed that.
This whole movie is shorter, Drew.
Yeah, we kept saying 9 minutes cut out. Most places say 12 whole minutes were cut out.
And scenes were added. So it's actually even more than that cut out.
Yeah, you're right.
And then,
because there's probably at least...
There's at least
estimation 5 minutes.
5-10 minutes somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Added footage.
It's hard to say, but
it's
not a lot.
Nearly as extensive as the original 54.
Oh, and it's much less interactive. Like, it's
not as well
you could say,
done.
no, you could say it's completely inconsequential
And
to the film.
There's tons of Dr. Pepper everywhere. Everybody has a Dr. Pepper, Drew.
To be fair, there's not a lot of American added in scenes.
Hold on.
But, Joe, you got to stop at some point. We're not actually sponsored by Dr. Pepper here. You got to quit giving them so much free publicity.
I actually do love Dr. Pepper.
I do too. That would be my favorite soda when I do drink soda, which is like never anymore. But
Instead, you drink energy drinks, which are 3 times worse.
when we do a podcast, Joe, this one that I meant to tell
Okay.
you, this one that I'm drinking about a week and a half ago, spoilers for behind the scenes, we recorded the first Godzilla Island commentary. That one's coming out directly after this. You guys are
directly before this.
directly before this.
Yeah,
Okay.
you're welcome.
Joe's the
You're welcome
editor
for the
in chief
Godzilla
here.
Island.
But great! I just had a
Commentary.
pen explode on me. But this monster was from that recording. I barely drank even a third of it, so I'm finishing it off now. A week and a half later. Yeah,
Okay, all
that's
right.
how addicted I am to this stuff.
I stopped drinking energy drinks in January,
Oh,
but I do drink soda
Wait a
just
second.
as much as I used
is that
to.
Dr. Pepper or Diet Dr. Pepper?
This is Diet Dr. Pepper.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I guess they're not technically the sponsors, Dr. Pepper, but I mean, come on, it's the same thing.
Fun fact: reporter of this film inspired by the character Akira Kubo portrayed in Son of Godzilla. Yep. So reporter. You know, I don't know why they would link them so
There's
vividly.
only a million reporters in this series.
Exactly.
There's a reporter in Mothra. I think there's a reporter in King Kong versus Godzilla. There's tons of reporters, man.
So to just
They're lousy
fly,
with reporters in this series.
fly through these facts, Joe. They wanted to make this American version, the studio that gobbled up the rights to release this Return of Godzilla film and re-edit it radically. They wanted to make a tongue-in-cheek comedy of it.
Yeah, I read that.
Nope.
What?
Raymond Burr staunchly against that. In one area that I read, they said that this is all just hearsay, he used his clout as Perry Mason, because, it's a long-running series, a notable series, I suppose, one that I know nothing about, but to stay that version of the film, to say, nope, we're not going to have that, we're going to have a more serious-toned one, because, thank goodness, Raymond Burr had reverence for Godzilla, and he wanted, what he had respect for was the nuclear metaphor, of destruction that Godzilla symbolized, and the guy wanted to keep this serious in tone, for as serious as this ended up being.
Yeah, I think I read that
entirely
they
too
kept in
serious.
one of their little tongue-in-cheek
One
jokes,
line,
which
yeah.
is the...
Urban renewal.
It was an awkward joke when we watched it. It was like,
Yeah, it's a
"Ugh."
weird line.
It's not a
The
great line.
Major General said that's quite the urban renewal project that Godzilla's doing on Tokyo
yeah,
there.
something like that.
No.
But yeah, Raymond Burr didn't like it, and he asked for it to be more serious. I don't think they improved the writing any. They just
No.
changed it.
Well, whenever Raymond Burr is on screen, granted, he brings a serious tone to the film. His acting is quite serious. He plays it straight as can be. When I just had to get this through my head, Joe, there is a shot at the end of the climax of this film, because we have to cut in the reaction shot of the Americans in this war room.
Yeah.
It pans from a soldier drinking a Dr. Pepper can turned towards the audience, pans from him to the Major General, who's not the most serious character, to a very serious Raymond Burr. So, in spite of what he...
serious moment, but the joke is Dr. Pepper.
Yeah, he had to realize what was going on. He's like, okay, so I'm in this shot. You're going to pan from him. Wait a sec. Why is he holding a can of Dr. Pepper?
It's like everybody else
We're
is
in
like
the
looking
war room.
seriously, and he's like, gook, gook, gook.
Yeah, exactly. At the most serious moment of the film. I don't know. If I was a kid watching this, I don't know
Can
if
we
I'd
get our money
too...
now?
I don't know if I'd take too much into that, but there is a very... I think it's
He'd
like...
probably be like, I just want Dr. Pepper right now for some reason.
Scene 1, American edit. Raymond Burr, extreme close-up, eyeballs, face wipe, and his sense of disturbance in the Godzilla force.
An hour and a half later, scene 2 with Raymond Burr.
No. The second scene doesn't have Raymond Burr. It has a child sitting there playing with toys. You remember this? And a guy from the military walks in. It's very evocative to me of the Pulp Fiction Christopher Walken, I walked through. I was tortured and I had to watch up my...
No, yeah. He was talking about his father. Had to put the watch.
Well, but just that, you get the shot looking down at the child, looks up. He's a little scared of the military guy, and then Raymond Burr appears in a doorway, and the words are not spoken, but he's taken to the war room. And I think that's the order, but scene 3 is it's probably the most egregious. I don't know, which one do you think's worse? The soldier drinking the can, or the really long held on shot of them walking towards the camera, and right in center frame behind them is a huge vending machine with Dr. Pepper on the front of it, the Dr. Pepper logo.
The can. Definitely.
The can's worse.
The can is way worse.
It draws more attention to itself. But
they both draw attention to themselves because it's a blue room. Everybody is in cool colors.
Yeah, you're right.
And then the red Dr. Pepper logo is just shining.
I don't think the Dr. Pepper that's in the right, because they like block the shot that way, that the two people having the conversation walking towards the camera are in the middle of them is the vending machine, and they, even though they're walking forward, they're walking real slow, so that Dr. Pepper logo in the background doesn't really get that small.
Well, here's the thing with that.
It's pretty in your face.
Here's the thing with product placement. Mm-hmm. So if you do something with product placement and you have this company pay for lunch or something like that for the crew to save money on production, there will be a contract that says how the product will be shown, how many seconds it will be on screen, and in what scene and in what way, in order to make the product look good. So you can't, like, if someone murdered someone with a Dr. Pepper can, that would not be good.
Yeah.
They want Dr. Pepper to be drank and enjoyed, or at least be like part of their facility, right? Mm-hmm. That all these smart people, are surrounded by Dr. Pepper. So it is important. I'm sure they had like some contractual obligation, like we need the Dr. Pepper logo on screen for 20 seconds in this movie, and they got that. Honestly, the worst like modern version of that is the Halo 5. This movie is perfect otherwise. The last Mission Impossible movie.
Okay.
With Tom Cruise-io.
You mean the latest, because there's
the latest
a new one.
The latest.
Out.
So not Fallout, the one before Fallout, guys, if you're listening to this in the future. First off, that movie is fantastic, but there is like a 4-second shot on Halo 5 and he's putting it away in a drawer.
Movie... in terms of like on screen, how long it feels, 4 seconds it's a freaking eternity.
There's Will Ferrell again, making his appearance.
To get to the movie, I actually appreciated. It was more overt, the interpretation of the character, the sister of the guy who was rescued from the ship. Yeah, she's the professor's assistant. Like, you guys, if you haven't listened to our 84 commentary, listen to that, because a lot of the storyline to this was gone over in that one, and we're just like recapping little things here.
It's the same story with Raymond Burr shoved in.
But I felt like she was more pushy in this one, especially at the beginning, because instead of being so, I want to say kind of naive in the original 84 Return of Godzilla, or at least more compliant to the urgings of the news reporter guy, she's like, who are you? Like, get away from me, basically. She's way more powerful of a character right at the beginning of this. But one thing that I didn't pick up on in the Return of Godzilla version is apparently she's just as pushy in that one, just in a possibly more subversive, passive way. They cut out, in this version of the film, the news reporter does reunite her sister, just like in the original, with the brother, because he's the one that found him and they're keeping him like in secret. The brother, because he was the only witness to this Godzilla attack and they want to keep it from the public. In that reuniting shot in the original, apparently Joe, this is what they cut out of this new one, the reporter takes pictures of the reuniting of the sister and the brother. That's his scoop. So he uses her in the original to get these pictures and like break the story that like there was a survivor from that ship and he's been found and he actually saw Godzilla. And she gets angry at the news reporter. See, none of that was like dawned on me in the original.
We watched that movie twice. That's funny.
Yeah, like no, 3 times, Joe.
There's just some things that
I don't know why a lot of things didn't land on me from '84.
Didn't land, yeah. There was something in here too. When I was reading up, they were like, "Oh, they recut it so that the Russians look like they shot the nuclear bomb."
More malicious. They put us in a better light in this film. Here we are, Dr. Pepper.
Dr. Pepper,
and
right
not
there.
Only, I forgot, Joe,
man.
Not only is it blocked, so it's right in the middle of them. It's taking up the majority of this vending machine in between them. There are also bright white strobe lights. Yeah, really. Dr. Pepper really feels like it's a character in this film. There's bright white strobe lights at the sides of the hallway behind them that are like illuminating the Dr. Pepper. That thing is heavenly.
The characters talking are actually
it.
cast in shadow in comparison. That's hilarious.
Yeah, and like, they kept in, I mean, it's tongue-in-cheek, Joe. It still is, because the major general that is shown here right at the beginning, he's got like a towel around his neck.
Would you say
he's being bothered by this calamity happening in Japan? That
he is the very model of a modern major general? The information, vegetable, animal, and mineral. No, sorry. I'm sorry.
Go on.
No. I can't remember. I used to have that song memorized.
Okay. The war room, apparently...
and the very model of a modern major general. I have information, vegetable, animal, and mineral. In order categorical.
If you want to see, to get back to the film, Joe, professionals here. Now let's plug Dr. Pepper one more time.
Got it here.
Thanks, Joe.
That's some refreshing Dr. Pepper.
If you just have to see more of that
have to take
war
a pee
room
in the middle of this commentary.
Well, you'll change the lighting too. We forgot to change the lighting, so it's to Joe's specifications. We're sitting here in full lighting. We need dimmed lighting.
Do.
The war room set for the American scenes in this film come from the Philadelphia Experiment, a movie.
It was just from another movie, huh?
Yeah, but set
that would be interesting to see. Is like, watch that movie.
How much
and see
they use
how they
that.
use the set.
If it's literally the exact same set.
Yeah.
Another thing is, and I don't think we mentioned this in the last commentary because we were, of course, saving it so we'd have something to talk about in '85. Toho shopped this movie around, Return of Godzilla, to sell the rights to a major studio. They were looking for millions, Joe.
They did. This is all rumors, by the way, but yes.
And yeah, they certainly were shopping it around. The rumor is how much
they wanted. They wanted more than their highest offer, which was $2 million.
And the rumor is that, they could have manufactured that offer in order to drive up prices, saying like, well, this studio, an unnamed big studio is offering $2 million. What ended up happening was this studio.
They got $500,000 out of it.
Yeah, it's like New World or something.
New World Entertainment, which
everybody says it would be akin to a modern, like, low budget studio. Kind that like just pumps out movies.
It said it was a Roger Corman company at some point.
Okay, well, so certainly
not sure if it was during this movie, if it was or not. Movies. But yeah, Roger Corman is kind of
he's the king of
low budget. Mm-hmm. He's also the king, though. What's important about Roger Corman? His
movies make back the money.
That was a big deal of his, was that he's never lost money on any movie. Because he's just a great producer of really cheap entertainment.
He's holding the scan of Godzilla upside down.
That's because he's an idiot, Drew.
So the soldiers holding this underground...
I think they kept the tongue-in-cheek thing for these side characters before Raymond Burr comes in.
We cut to a shot of a soldier holding a heat sensor image of like Godzilla from underwater. Yeah, you're seeing it's not a clear shot. But he's like, this doesn't look like a monster, and he's holding the picture upside down.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, really, the only serious part of this movie is Raymond Burr.
Well, and the Japanese stuff.
Yeah, but they cut out a lot of that, too.
They do.
The political scenes.
So I was about to tell you, Roger Corman. So he is important in that respect about, like, independent cinema and all that other stuff. But also, he brought a lot of foreign films into distribution in the U.S. So not just this one, and he didn't recut them. That's the other weird thing. It's like the Akira Kurosawa movies, the Bergman movies, the Federico Fellini movies. As far as them being distributed around colleges and stuff like that and film schools, he was actually really.
Well,
like
it's really like a savior for film buffs,
yes,
you know?
yes, he
I want to
was.
see something in its original form. Here you go.
But this is interesting that they were okay, or they wanted to get Raymond Burr back to make a, just like this one is a direct sequel in the original Japanese version to the 1954 version. They were going to do the 1956 King of the Monsters, and
You're talking about Roger Corman's company at the time?
So this company, whatever this company
New World.
is. New World.
It may have had a different name in the 50s, but
so New World Entertainment also wanted to do a direct sequel to King of the Monsters with Raymond Burr, but they wanted to make it tongue-in-cheek when that one is definitely not tongue-in-cheek.
No, it's not. I mean, to look at it by today's standard, it's kind of, if you put it under a microscope, it's kind of pitiful because nobody was thinking in the 50s about a term, cultural appropriation, because it's like, oh, of course we need an American to go into this film. Of course he'd need an interpreter, but it's kind of like, I think my favorite comment, Joe, and I'm highly complimenting you here, on the 56 version, the King of the Monsters, is I think the power...
I always say it's 54, but I know it's later.
The power lent to Godzilla 54 by King of the Monsters is that we get that like first-person driven perspective of the attack on Tokyo. Because he's in like at ground zero when it's happening. So that's the power of that movie. There's a really good
observation point in that movie.
Yeah,
I think the Japanese characters are still let too seriously. Raymond Burr's character also doesn't look down at the Japanese.
No, not at all.
Which is,
in any case, he's really respectful of it. He's friends with the characters in the film.
He's friends with Dr. Serizawa's stunt double behind the bars, or the beakers or whatever he's talking to him through. So there's a lot of stuff in there that's really good, and it's certainly still it only dies in comparison, because if you see the original one, you're like, and then you see the recut of King of the Monsters, you're like, what is this? It's so stupid. But if you've never seen that original one, the King of the Monsters it still keeps quite a bit of the power and the somberness of the original. Mm-hmm. Just a little bit more Hollywood. Because
they make it less impactful because they take out the nuclear messages,
the strong nuclear message.
Yeah, they soften the blow.
But it's funny that they were like, let's get Raymond Burr and do a sequel to that, and they were like, but let's make it a comedy. It's like, what?
Well,
did you see the original one? Probably not.
When he did his adaptation of Poe films with Vincent Price, I think they only did 2 that are like real serious Poe adaptations. It's like I think it's Mask of the Red Death or something, and another one. And by the third one, Joe, they're smart. They knew that people would be not able to take it serious anymore, which is exactly what happens in every era of Godzilla movies. You start out very serious, and then people become accustomed to it, and it becomes like popcorn, cheesy.
Oh, we can think of that for a few things.
Exactly. You can't take it serious anymore. So for those really kind of loose adaptations, because Poe doesn't lend himself well to a literal interpretation on film. By the third one, and they still had Vincent Price as the lead character in this adaptation, they went full tongue-in-cheek, and Vincent Price was okay with it because he identified that that's how they would draw on audiences, because by the time you get to the third movie, that's what people are going to expect, whether you deliver it or not. And sometimes it's even by the second film, people can't take it serious anymore.
There's definitely some others in that. I'm thinking
it's because
like the third Jurassic Park movie where he's got the dream sequence and the raptors talking to him. It's like a more modern, wow, Jurassic Park went real dumb.
Because if you don't have, I guess it depends on how much you have to work with in the franchise.
This is no longer a horror movie. It's
how much you can branch
fun.
Out. Yeah, because the impact is so lessened.
Especially, right?
Yeah. I don't know what it is. It's just that if you have a third film in a franchise, and it really hasn't deviated like the storyline, the things almost become tropes in themselves, contained within the franchise. So that by the third one, something that was so serious in the first and maybe the second film, by the third time you see it, it's like, yeah, I've seen this before. It's more funny than ambitious, respectful, blah blah blah.
What? Well, Friday the 13th is a joke now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Was it ever serious? Just curious. On that first one?
The
probably.
first one, yeah. The first one, it's not Jason. Spoilers. The second one, I remember that it is, and I can't remember when it becomes just schlock.
Just hokey, yeah.
One thing that I really would like to have a discussion about, Joe, back in 54, studios had a good reason to believe that 56, the Godzilla 54, the Japanese version, wouldn't play well internationally. So they had a good reason to make a 56 adaptation, like to make it so it's digestible by Americans, right?
Sure.
Also, they wouldn't have the belief that the Japanese movie's just going to get out and the world's going to have access to it. By 85, however, it's weird that they're still thinking we have to make an American version so people can, understand what's going on and be relatable to it. And it's weird to think
that is odd, and I'm
weird
agreeing
to think
with you.
that
Go
in
ahead.
85 people aren't going to be able to get their hands on the original.
Well, home video is brand new.
Yeah.
VHS started in the 80s.
And when VHS started, dude, that was some expensive, it was expensive to own a movie. But you have to, if they had just a little bit of foresight, like not even 10, maybe 5 years into the future, I know people were trading tapes, like as in music all over the place, like music that you couldn't get in your own country, or basically you had access to stuff around the world if you were within a certain circle. So I can imagine that if you had a pen pal in Japan, he could send you a copy of 84. If you're like part of a Godzilla fan club in America, you can distribute the thing. I can see it being possible.
You know what? It would be interesting
more.
talking to like an old diehard fan. That might be kind of fun.
Well,
if that person exists, please email us. Like, I want to see what fandom was like in the 80s.
One thing that 85 certainly did have an impact on
there has to
American
be at least a
theaters.
dozen of them.
So it made back its money plus a little bit. I can't remember the exact budget, but it was like
$500,000 to rent the movie. To take the rights for the movie. And then
I'll try to look for these facts. They're pulled up somewhere
it
here.
was $200,000 to shoot the film, or to shoot the added scenes.
Yeah.
And then the rest of their budget, which is like 1.3 million.
Sounds right.
That was to print and advertising. So they spent New World Pictures spent $2 million on it. Only $500,000 of which went to Toho.
Yeah.
And then I guess they did make their money, right? They made their money back.
They did. They didn't. It wasn't like a huge success though, and the problem was, okay, here we go. You just went down the budget, but here's the numbers: $500,000 to lease the film from Toho. He said it. $200,000 for filming the new scenes, other revisions. $2.5 million for prints and advertising. So
a little bit more than $2 million. Okay.
A grand total of approximately $3.2 million, and it made a little over $4 million. It's like $4.1 million.
Okay, that's not bad.
The problem was it was critically panned.
Oh, was it true?
Just a little bit. And today, when you look up Godzilla, I'm going to Google it right now. Godzilla 1984.
Godzilla 1984.
85, sorry, 85.
Godzilla 1985. Roger Ebert has an amazing review of it.
13%.
13% on Rotten Tomatoes. Honestly, that's...
Here's the scene I was talking about with the Pulp Fiction-esque.
And
what's funny is he's playing with a Godzilla robo toy.
Yeah,
Joe, here's my
Here's
my backstory to Godzilla 85. Why is Raymond Burr watching this child, which we, know, he does say grandpa. I just saw him mouth grandpa.
Yeah, he's the grandpa.
He's got custody of this child because Raymond Burr's character, Mr. Martin, they never say Steve Martin in this because he was famous by
Steve Martin was famous by that.
by 85. Mr. Martin drove his children like mad. He could never give up the thought of Godzilla. He barely survived it, and it haunted him up until this day, which is 30 years later. He's a grandpa at this point, an older man. He drove his children to drugs, to they have to have their own coping methods, and Raymond Burr, Mr. Martin, has driven them away. So he has custody of his grandchild, and here he is being proven right, Joe, that indeed Godzilla is still a threat.
It's funny to me. He saw Godzilla die. That's funny to me.
And he said a corpse was never found.
That
is a line
BS.
in
we
this
saw
film.
it.
Granted, it was underwater, but yeah.
Of course, was never found because it was destroyed.
Not confirmed in the Japanese version that this was the Godzilla from 54.
No, it's a new one. It's a new Godzilla, like birthed from the volcano. I don't know what the heck that is.
Birthed from something. From
Birthed from
the Earth.
something.
It's confirmed, however, in Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah, in this Heisei era of films, this is a new Godzilla. It's like confirmed in a line of dialogue. So
it's because the other
change
one,
it up.
We saw it turn into a skeleton and then disappear.
Gosh dang it, Joe. Why did they have to change this? It's so dumb. There's a couple dumb things in this movie. They changed the fact that they're sitting around the laboratory, the like apartment laboratory of the professor in this movie. And instead of the image where he points out the magnetic north on Godzilla in the Japanese version, it's a little area that's lit in this like whatever heat graph they're showing picture of Godzilla.
Brain.
Yeah. They say in the American version that his bird is avian-esque. It's bird-like. That
his
Godzilla
brain is avian-esque.
has a
You just said
bird-like...
bird is avian-esque.
That he has he has an avian-esque brain.
There you go.
That's why he's drawn to these flocks of birds. No, Godzilla doesn't have a bird brain.
I don't think it really was that complicated either. Like they didn't need to change it.
It wasn't, but they did.
So I just looked up New World Pictures. It turns out Roger Corman sold New World to some folks named Larry Coupin, Harry E. Sloan, and Larry A. Thompson for $16 million in 1983.
Wow.
Yeah. So I guess it wasn't owned by Roger Corman at this point.
Okay.
But
it sounds like they're a Roger Corman-like studio.
Yeah.
And I mean,
they're still distributing
it fit his
schlock.
oeuvre.
There was something you said earlier about American audiences or Western audiences not being able to
at least that's what
just watch the Japanese
believed,
one.
Yeah.
Which is funny to me, and I believe you're right, because my first instinct was to go, like, well, they still don't watch foreign movies, so I don't know what you're talking about, Drew. And then I realized, no, wait, Bruce Lee was huge 10 years before this movie came out. So, I mean, like, movies like Big Boss, like, they did pretty well over here.
What's more... Joe, because the dialogue of that film is inconsequential to the fighting, so it's just... I think they knew that like an action movie can play better internationally.
Maybe there's just not enough fighting in this movie for them.
They just, especially because of the widespread. I've been talking to a lot of people, Joe, my family members, people that are around my parents' age that I work with. You want to know the movie that most people can name? Godzilla vs. Megalon, Joe.
That's bizarre.
It's because of the insane distribution of that film. It was played all over theaters, television. People many companies wrongly thought it was in the public domain, so they're releasing VHS copies of it like they're just printing them like there's no tomorrow. And so I just don't think that they believe... Honestly, they would be leaning more into what America's perception of Godzilla is at this point,
which is
if
really,
they had made
really
it tongue-in-cheek.
Yeah.
And that's why they wanted to do that. That's why Roger Corman or whoever had owned the studio at the time, New World Pictures, thought that a follow-up to 56 involving Raymond Burr and making it comedic would play well. Here, we're seeing... This was not in the original. In 84, there's a scene where the professor shows our other cast of characters some stills.
Some stills of Godzilla.
While he's explaining from the Godzilla in 54 killed my parents. And these are some shots of Godzilla when he went on land at that time. They cut that out and substitute in the 85 version some actual footage from the Godzilla of 1954. And they're showing that to soldiers in the war room here. Raymond Burr has still not made his appearance. I believe he will in a moment.
One of the most bizarre things about the rewrite of this movie is that Raymond Burr is brought in as some kind of expert, but he was a reporter, and he watched Godzilla destroy a thing, which they know that information.
Witness.
This isn't new. He's not a scientist.
He's like a seer. He's like, he really is though. He's
the light in his eyes.
A portent
I feel Godzilla.
He's a portent of doom in this film. He doesn't this is the ultimate breakdown of Raymond Burr's character in this movie. He doesn't serve a purpose other than to spell doom to the audience. Like when they down Godzilla halfway through the film, they actually succeed in shooting those cadmium missiles down Godzilla's throat. Yeah. He just says, "Oh, nope, you're wrong. He's gonna come back." And here he is thinking, this is Raymond Burr holding cards in his hand and trying to bluff us. He's like, I really don't think he's gonna come back. My fears after all these years, all these nightmares of Godzilla that I've been having, Mr. Martin's character has been having. He's hoping that this comes to pass. And of course, self-fulfilling prophecy, Godzilla does actually awaken. And what a sigh of relief Mr. Martin had when Godzilla comes back. And then he does come back and he's like, I told you guys he was going to come back. He wasn't dead.
So this movie was critically panned, like you were saying earlier.
13% on Rotten Tomatoes.
But, Rotten Tomatoes for old movies are all over the place.
It's true, because there's very little to draw from. There's few reviews.
What bugs me about like IMDb
They're
and
skewed.
Rotten Tomatoes now is like there's two versions of these movies, and we're all just supposed to vote on like this.
Well, when you look up facts for this movie, in most places, they're clumped together as one. Yeah. IMDb, even Wikizilla clumps 84 and 85 together. So you get all the facts in one long article instead of in two separate.
It's true. I mean, it is the same film, but to me, it's like, well, it's two different. It's totally different experiences.
Oh, yeah. We haven't even touched on the Russian differences that they make them much more villainous.
Yeah.
There is, I didn't notice it, but every source I'm reading says it was there, that there was American nuclear missiles on a satellite in space in the original one. Didn't see that.
I didn't catch that one.
Only saw the Russian missiles up in space, so I thought of it as more of a like negative light towards the Russians. But at least the Japanese people did the dignity to the Russians that the guy at the end tries to save it. Yeah, that he tries to save Japan and Tokyo from, the nuclear missile that's was inadvertently shot off at them, because at that point even the Russians, again in Return of Godzilla 84, were saying no, we're not going to send that missile. It was our plan to, if the Japanese prime minister had said yes, but he said no, so no, we're not going to do that. Then something goes wrong and the nuclear missile is accidentally launched. No, Joe, what happens in this one?
This is something I didn't catch, right?
Okay.
Apparently,
only upon
the
reading all
guy
about it.
was like really wanted to launch that nuclear weapon.
And this is again in the 85 version.
He's trying to get in through the ship and launch it.
As Godzilla's attacking Tokyo.
As opposed to in the original version, he's trying to stop
save.
it.
Yes, save us from the Russian missile.
This is something... I can't remember my thoughts on this when we watched this movie a month ago. I can't remember if that's what I realized he was doing, because in my mind he was always trying to stop it. And it's probably because we watched the original version first, and that's what he's doing in that one.
Well, and also we're trying to keep up with the weirdest subtitles I've ever seen on this version.
Oh yeah,
there are two sets of subtitles, one which doesn't work at all, the other one which doesn't give us subtitles to anything but the Russian speakers who are speaking English. They're dubbed in English, and it gives us a literal subtitles of what they're saying. And, it gives us the subtitle of what they're actually saying on screen, and then it gives us a more direct translation at the bottom. It's weird. So we're trying to follow along with all this and getting character motivations, which are only really slightly altered other than this Russian character.
The Russian hero from the last one.
The hero was turned into a villain, thereby making the Russians seem villainous. It's too bad. It's unfortunate.
This was
Cold War.
height of the Cold War.
America's got
the second height of the Cold War, late 80s.
America wants to show Russia as being
villainous. Yeah,
bad guys.
When in the original one, it seemed like in 1984, it kind of gave us a good picture of Japan in between two superpowers that are quietly warring against each other.
And I believe 84 succeeded in painting them both in kind of a gray light, neither
Yeah, neither good nor bad. They both had bad things about them and good things.
Well,
Mostly just them having nuclear weapons was seen as like the negative there.
Even the Japanese, the prime minister is shown as kind of being just having a tough decision either way.
Because Japan is literally in between Russia and Japan.
Yeah.
And Russia and the U.S. Japan is literally in between them. And then figuratively in that movie as well, it's also shown in that way. It's
we mentioned it in the 84. They do it better than Shin Godzilla, but they pull it off okay in this movie.
How dare you compare during your commentary. Okay.
It's part of what we do.
It is part of what we do.
84 Goji, the suit.
Yes.
More menacing than his debut. A more menacing debut for this era of films. Joe, we're starting out again. I think my favorite. We're starting out again with these films because we're
starting the commentary again. We're going back to zero.
It's what it feels like. It feels like we're resetting our entire podcast because when you get to the end of the show era, we got a lot to draw from, Joe. We've watched a dozen-ish films, it felt like, somewhere around there, and that's almost just films starring Godzilla.
Yeah.
It's a 10-ish at that point. We had a build-up of, although the storyline of the Showa era movies doesn't just continue through the movies.
No, it makes no damn sense.
Yeah, from movie to movie, it's an entirely new
like a sense
universe, just starring Godzilla in each of them, the good ones at least. We had stuff to draw from, however. This is like wiping the slate clean. Now, when we get to Biolanta, we'll have 84 and 85 to reference. When we get to the next one, we'll have we'll have a wealth of backlog of movies to go, hey, this one kind of does this like this, but that and that to compare. We don't at this point, and I appreciate that some differences in the suit. Near the end of the Showa era, Godzilla was softened quite a bit. His eyes were large.
They hardened him up for the last two, but before then, it started. He was,
and even in those last two,
pretty googly eyed.
He didn't really have fangs. We get fangs.
We get an upper lip too.
Yeah,
which
love that lip.
Was nominated. That upper lip was nominated for a Razzie, which I'm kind of happy about.
Oh man. It's so unfortunate that Raymond Burr was nominated for a Razzie as a supporting actor in Godzilla 85.
I don't think
he didn't deserve that.
I don't think the actor was bad given the material that he was given.
I mean, they had written it to be
I don't know.
Our transfer here.
And a little monster logo on the
and then at some point in our transfer, which we're watching, this was ripped off of a television. Yeah,
this was ripped off a TV.
But
it's pretty great.
It looks good though, Joe.
Does.
It's a good transfer.
It's from Voom HD Networks, apparently.
Monster HD is what showed up before that. I don't think that Raymond Burr. You're right. He had what he had to work with, and unfortunately, it wasn't the greatest.
There's one really awful speech line he has that I'm just gonna have to
Are you talking about
verbatim?
the end?
At the end, it is terribly
awful.
written.
It's super clunky. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense, and also
he does what he can with it.
I'm not sure which film portrays Godzilla as being more of a revenge force. Because, I'm still confused. I'll never understand the tears by the Prime Minister at the end of 84. As far as I was able to get from watching the movie, Godzilla's not a tragic yet innocent figure. I'm taking that from part of what Raymond Burr says at the end of this movie. He just wants to kill. Godzilla just wants to kill stuff in this movie. I don't know why. I guess it's because, there's a lot of self-hatred in that statement. Are we saying that, we may have created him, but because he's coming on land and destroying us, it's not our fault? I'm confused as to what Godzilla's intentions are in this movie. I mean, he's always a monster, but it seems that sometimes he's more malicious than at other times. That's the shot that's inserted, Joe. They inserted a shot of him pushing the button, not trying to stop the Russian nuclear missile. So stupid.
But isn't that? That's not the button to stop it.
I hate that they make Russia to be
does
bad
launch
guys.
Afterwards. I guess I was just being an idiot then, because it's pretty obvious. But yeah, I okay. So
My thoughts
two
are going
Razzies.
everywhere.
Two Razzies. One was for Raymond Burr as supporting actor, and then another one was for, I can't remember what it was for, but it was Godzilla's, the new computerized Godzilla is what they said, which is the robot Godzilla with the upper lip tremble.
And, you know, I was reading that in both versions of the film, Joe, you mostly see the suitmation. Like, I think 80% of the film's shots of Godzilla are...
Yeah, like this one.
The suit, yeah. So they don't use that much of the... of Cybot Godzilla, 20-foot tall. Oh, man, I'm going to have to figure out...
It was like 16 foot tall.
It cost them $475,000 to build the thing.
Jeez Louise!
Yeah, that's a large portion of the budget of the film. But he looks very different from the suit. Differences being, honestly, the like evil, more like terrifying look of... This is Joe's favorite shot. The explosions, the chain explosion of
it's the shot that makes the least amount of sense
down the
entire
highway.
Thing, but yeah.
So they made Godzilla look scarier. They gave him 4 toes, fangs, ears, which was all from the 54 movie and hadn't really come back in any of the other Showa era movies. Maybe some of those features were in the Godzilla raids again, but I mean, pretty much there was a rapid departure from that original depiction. His dorsal fins, the spikes on his back, are made a lot larger, more prominent in this film, spikier, and whereas at the end of the Showa era, they were quite small and rounded. They were less prominent.
They do cut the weird person who smiles at Godzilla when he picks up the train. 2
corrections from my last commentary that I could not put a name on these 2 things. Hare Krishna was the name of the religious movement that I could not put my finger on from, I want to say, the 80s, maybe earlier than that. Thank you, Baindrum, for correcting me there or helping me out. And the other one that I want to say is happening between our love interests in this film, the Nightingale effect. He said the Florence Nightingale effect, but I've never heard it called that. It's where a nurse falls in love with her patient. Have you seen American Werewolf in London?
No.
Okay, that's like the only romance that the nurse has. It's literally a nurse taking care of a teenage boy, and she's like got to be in her 30s, and they like have this romance near the end of the film that's just like, yeah, that's not a healthy romance, but neither is this one.
Healthy romance? I don't think there is such a thing.
Well, there are healthier. There's levels of healthy.
Healthier.
And also, Joe, I have a healthy one.
Speaking of healthy or unhealthy, Raymond Burr, he put on a few pounds.
Would you say that he's putting off some Orson Welles late in life vibes?
Yeah, dude, he's
big time.
He is a more sane version of Orson Welles.
Big time. He's got facial hair. You know, we're really good.
I think he fit. He got a good fitting suit, though.
Yeah, no, he really did. I mean,
looks good on him.
Like our president. Might be a larger man, but his suits are made to fit.
Yes.
Joe,
perfectly healthy.
They say, Joe,
never a more perfect, healthy specimen ever put into office. Sorry, go ahead.
Hey,
let's not detour
not
too
devolve
much.
into politics here.
That's not politics. It's an impersonation.
They say that they're helping. The added in American scenes, the American side of this is that they're helping these Japanese people. They don't really do anything. The one thing they do is they send off the missile.
They do stop a nuclear bomb.
Their involvement in the plot, though, Joe, it's like really null.
Well, let's see. If you were given the original film and you were like, okay, we got to cut Raymond Burr in here, where is he going to go? Honestly, yeah, kind of the plot line where the Americans have to send a counter missile to stop the Russian missile.
Yeah, that's the best place to put him in.
That is honestly the best place to put him in, and that's where they put him in. But then it's like, well, they're just going to be sitting around in military buildings. Like, well, that's kind of cheap. We'll just use this other set.
And of course, it got bought up by a studio which was known for putting out like cheap, you know.
Yeah.
So,
it makes sense to me, like why they did that. But I mean, it's too bad that it's not very.
If you had told me watching 54 how you could put Raymond Burr in that movie, I think they did a fantastic
Yeah,
job.
that was
Like,
kind of a work of odd genius.
85 compared to 56, both which just recut in a whole new character and, part of the story. Like 56 is a masterpiece in comparison to this. I wouldn't say, like you said, it's very skewed, those Rotten Tomato scores, because of just how the low number of reviews going into it.
Yeah.
Nowhere near a 13%. It's not. This movie would have to be an absolute trash fire to be 13%. It's nowhere near that.
Rotten Tomatoes is just positive and negative, so they're giving it a negative review.
And extremely negative. I haven't really seen that many.
Roger Ebert really railed on this one. He gave it 1 out of 4 stars.
Which is interesting because in shots...
He also didn't like the original Godzilla either, so...
The original.
He didn't, yeah. When it came out in like 2006, whatever year.
Was he still alive then? Okay.
Yeah, he was still alive.
Okay.
He was still alive up until 2012-ish, I think.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
He just, he wasn't
his
talking for the last like 5 years.
Ooh, health decline quite a bit.
Yeah, dude, it was pretty horrible.
Yeah.
But he didn't like the original one either. And his whole deal was, it's not a good enough of a bad movie to be a good bad movie. That was like one of his points in his review for this one.
Oh, okay.
And
and he was ripping.
Then he also said the special effects were awful.
See, I don't. When reviewers, negative reviewers of this or even any of the Showa era films, really rail on special effects. Granted, we'll read a review at the end of this that somebody stated. It was like Hex something. Stated that we don't give enough credit for the budgetary constraints of these films and what they were having to work with, the schlockiness. Other than a few shots,
they tried on this one. To be fair,
really
there's some where
did.
they don't. And I can tell when they
we might pick apart a shot.
Yeah,
but overall, I think we appreciate the special effects.
There's 10 shots in this movie that maybe they should have cut that.
Honestly, I
think
think
there is one of the sequences in here is better done in this version than it was in the original Japanese version. I know it's just horrible for me to say that, but we'll get to it soon.
I wanted to say that sometimes in the American versions of these films, when they're recutting action scenes, like with Godzilla versus another monster, or versus in this it's Super X, say versus Atragon, whatever. Sometimes they do a better job.
Yeah.
Sometimes the action scenes are more fluid. They make more sense
fluid.
to an audience member.
They're a little bit sometimes,
and sometimes they're not as drawn out.
They need to be trimmed a little bit. There is one scene in Godzilla versus Mothra where the speed has been amped up a lot and you're really close up.
Yeah.
That it goes on for a long time in the Japanese version, and in the American version it's really short. And it just felt better in that respect.
We don't have to take as much time on this action sequence. We can cut out some of it and then move on to the story.
So it's not all bad. But yeah, I think most of the effects in this movie are pretty good. Especially 85, I guess, was pretty... Oh, yeah, we were getting pretty effects heavy in the U.S. with the... I guess Terminator was late 80s.
You're talking original Terminator, yeah.
Yeah, original Terminator.
When did RoboCop? RoboCop was 80s,
also, Ray Harryhausen's work was the standard. We didn't do... besides the 70s King Kong, Suitmation was kind of looked down upon.
Yeah.
And the reason is because, frankly, stop motion does look better. So when you're looking at Roger Ebert's perspective in 86, it does make sense that he'd be like, this sucks. But I think me and you, because we've been watching all these movies, we like this kind of thing.
Back, yeah.
We look at it's good for Suitmation. That's
we
that's
give it
kind of thing.
Huge leniences.
Yeah, so maybe there is that sort of perspective that Roger Ebert is missing because he's looking at Wrath of the Titans from 1980, and it's the special effects in that movie are great.
Yeah.
And then he's getting this Japanese thing.
He's
recut and terrible.
He's not steeped in Japanese kaiju special
He's looking
effects.
for flaws at that point too. So because the movie's not very good.
Facts on the suit. Godzilla suit used in the 70s, which would have been about 88 pounds. Take a guess at the Suitmation's actor's suit in this film. How heavy it is.
88 pounds.
Was the average for 70s suits.
This one looks heavier.
By how much?
So it is heavier.
Just take a stab in the dark.
Okay, 140.
100 pounds heavier than that. It's 242 pounds.
Oh!
No wonder. I think I was looking for this fact last
you bench,
time.
bro? wait.
Do you bench
squat?
suits?
You got to be squatting for that muscle.
Where are we at? Okay.
Yeah, this is the sequence that is better edited. When the SpaceX or whatever the hell the name of the ship is.
Yeah, SpaceX. Yeah.
When it's shooting at
Something
Godzilla,
X.
and he's like, they're giving him the flare, and then they're shooting at his mouth. In the original version, I thought it was kind of clunky, and I might have even said that on the commentary.
Cutting between Godzilla's face, the person like shooting the missiles, and the actual like machination of the missile being shot out of the miniature.
Yeah,
and it's like cutting between the three shots.
They really did a much better job of editing the sequence together in this version. So if I could take the original Japanese version and just like do this,
yeah,
then it'd be a little, you know.
Here's the Kenpachiro Satsuma. He's going to be our actor as Godzilla through the Heisei era, I think through the whole thing, but in any case, the vast majority of them. He suffered grueling injuries while playing Godzilla in this film. A sharp wire in the suit's leg chewed into his thigh, so he was shouting for help inside the suit as the scene was to be shot. Sharp staples from pyrotechnic explosions, I think I mentioned this last time, trickled into his suit and his feet when the back was left open. He was very angry because he warmed them when he wait until he's fully sealed into the suit before they explode these pyrotechnics off of the suit. Because we commented or complimented the movie rather in the last one. Explosions actually happen on Godzilla rather than in the 70s and the 60s. We were like, oh, they just have horrible aim.
Mostly around him, yeah.
And they still happen around him in this one, but a lot happened on the suit itself. See, this is the part that Raymond Burr is just hoping. He's telling them, these Major General and all the soldiers in the war room, he might be down, but he's not gone. That's weird.
What is the dragon thing he's holding?
If it's a keepsake from his survival, I don't know.
That was not in the original.
It was not, Joe. He didn't have a little porcelain dragon that he's holding in his hands.
Stupid,
it's a comfort object, Joe.
I need more Dr. Pepper. Hold on. I'll get in a better mood with some Dr. Pepper.
Some stuff they cut out effects-wise in the 85 version. God, there's a lot of Dr. Pepper. We're plugging Dr. Pepper more in our podcast than in
Dr.
than
Pepper
they did in this film.
Is great.
And it's great. They cut out all but one shot of the giant foot, which we somewhat complained about in 84.
Yeah, the giant foot is also not that great.
It's because it's so stiff. That's one reason I don't prefer the Cybot Godzilla shots, because
I don't know what's worse, that giant foot being a robo foot or like a foot in one of the old ones where he's not quite solid and he's kind of like...
I prefer the movement, Joe, when you have like the bounciness, especially when it's slowed down as they do in the effect shot of a suit actor. It makes it feel more real. When it's stiff, it just looks weird. There's like a subconscious thing going on that's like, this doesn't look as good as when it's rubbery and kind of shaky. Another thing I learned about the 84 suit, Joe, is the eyes in the Suitmation suit. I got to assume that's part of the weight, is all the animatronics in the suit actor's suit itself. The eyes could move, like from side to side. At a certain point during the filming of this movie, the eyes stopped working they didn't work very well. So sometimes the eyes would go cross-eyed, like they'd go out from each other. And when there are shots of the Super X, I believe is what it's called, looking straight on at Godzilla, and at first Godzilla is just curious about this little flying ship towards exactly. The eyes are pointed outward from each other. They're not.
Sorry, I made a cross-eyed motion.
So overall, we like the suit design, but I still think that subconsciously I was like, I'm giving it all these props. I'm giving the props, but there was something that was off about it, and it's those close-up shots where apparently the eyes weren't quite ahead like they should be.
I didn't,
or even side to
that.
side.
I didn't notice that. It didn't bug me. I like the new design of the suit. Well, by the way, Dr. Pepper was created in the 1980s by a pharmacist named Charles Alderton in Waco, Texas. and was first served around 1985. So Dr. Pepper, brand new in this movie.
If you're going... All right, it's
brand
the new craze.
Yeah, that's right, man.
And I'm sure they were touting its medicinal benefits.
It's excellent.
Stop. I'm glad you're almost done with that. I hear the ice jingling around. So one thing we didn't mention because I didn't know it last time.
I'm sorry. I so misread that, Drew.
What?
This is not a nude soda. I'm sorry. 1880s.
100 years.
100 years.
100 years prior to the filming of Godzilla 85 is when...
Woo! Don't want the tweets about that. Someone's be like, I drank Dr. Pepper when I was a kid. It's like...
The Godzilla
1880s.
podcast, bringing you facts that are only 100 years
1885.
Yeah, at least they're not the Godzilla facts.
Marketed in 1904 in the United States.
Facts. You're going to find this interesting, Joe. Akihiko Harada, who played Dr. Serizawa, you know how he was supposed to be, the professor in this film, died unfortunately of lung cancer in 84. Days before he passed away, he expressed the interest in wanting at least a small cameo in the film. Fortunately, just didn't have the strength to do it, passed away. A year prior to this movie, in 83, Joe, is when they had that Godzilla festival where they showed off old films. They had like merchandise tie-ins. Akihiko Harada, the actor, dressed up as Serizawa at this G Fest, which is not what it was called, but because that's the name of the contemporary or modern Godzilla gathering here in America. But this Godzilla festival, which it was a resurgence of Godzilla love, and suddenly Godzilla was back in demand because of this. It was only 83, and Akihiko Harada was healthy enough to play Serizawa at that festival. It's so unfortunate. Yeah, and there was even
went downhill real fast then.
They had a Godzilla orchestra there that I'm not sure whether Ifukube was involved in, but yeah. And Bandai apparently took the rights to the toys at that time, and yeah, they still have it to this day. I mean, inside Japan at least, I've purchased a few figures that were given away for giveaways that always, when they come from Japan, they're always Bandai figures.
It's funny. This is still like one of the most intense sequences in the movie.
And
there's no Godzilla in this sequence. It's just a guy on a helicopter trying to get some people out of a window.
I have to say that's a sign of a failure as a film for me. When when Godzilla is the draw. The movie's called Godzilla 1985, original Godzilla 84, Return of Godzilla, and the most thrilling sequence is when they're trying to get people out of a like some tall building.
Hey, I mean, that means you care enough about the characters that this part makes your legs a little bit jelly.
True.
So,
well, I don't think you have to care about them that much. It's just that humans are going to die.
Because maybe you're putting yourself in that situation. You're wow, that would not be fun.
Sympathy, pain.
Because the helicopter blades have to not hit the building. Mm-hmm. So that's like a fear right there. So hopefully the wind doesn't pick up too much. And then, you have to swing out.
I even think that
to get up to the helicopter.
This is the 80s, but this harness that they're using to lift people into the helicopter, I still think at least a version of that is used today.
Yeah,
it just looks so scary. It's like, tie this.
Screw that.
Yeah, exactly. Buckle this thing around your chest and slip your arms through this harness, and we're just going to lift you in a helicopter above. Ooh, that's scary.
Man, I wish they put Raymond Burr in this sequence.
We're not quite to it yet. Yeah, no, they couldn't have lifted him.
Oh,
slam.
Yeah, you're slamming Raymond Burr.
The guy who, the only reason this film is serious in any way is because of him. It still didn't end up being too serious, but he tried. He did.
He does seem to be the only person who tried to keep the original tone.
You noticed a cry at the end of this movie, Joe, that Godzilla emits as he's falling into the volcano.
Yeah.
That's noted as a positive addition to this version of the film. That Godzilla's cry, it's
as
kind of
opposed to like the silence.
Yeah, it's up pitched. It's really like it's a sad cry. It's a cry of help as he's falling into the volcano at the end of this film. That was in this version. That was apparently in the international Toho release of it. nobody knows why, but they cut it out of the Japanese version because I think it added to the film. It's so sad. So sad, the stuff they cut out, because although sticking to the like politics of the original movie, they cut out a lot of the scenes of just Japanese politicians speaking amongst themselves, because in the original, Prime Minister in the middle, surrounded by two Japanese politicians, America on one side, their political envoy, and the Japanese Russian embassy on the other, trying to pressure the Prime Minister into using nuclear missiles. Then they cut to, in the original, just the Japanese politicians speaking and like their own board meeting, and then they go back and deliver their verdict as to what they're going to say to the offer of nuclear aid to Russia and USA. They just cut out like most of that in this version, and that was the most cut out that I noticed. It's
Dude, I just glanced down on this thing about Raymond Burr.
Yeah.
And he's talking about how he was like 25 years old and he was playing like roles that were so much older than he was.
How did he look the part?
That he looked so like
he's a big
Rear
guy.
Window.
I'm not talking like weight wise here, but Joe, it might have been because he was put next to Asian actors in 56, but like he's a tall, built gentleman. Like he has a big frame.
He's a big dude.
Yeah.
Okay, so he this is a quote from him. I was just a fat heavy. Burr told journalist James Bodden. I split the heavy parts with Bill Conrad. We were both in our 20s playing much older men.
When we say heavy, we mean bad guy. Go on.
I never got the girl, but I once got the gorilla in a 3D picture called Gorilla at Large. I menaced Claudette Colbert, Lisbeth Scott, Paulette Goddard, Ann Baxter, Barbara Stanwyck. Those girls would take one look at me and scream, and can you blame them? I was drowned, beaten, stabbed, all for my art. But I knew I was horribly overweight. I lacked any self-esteem. At 25, I was playing the fathers of people older than me.
I'm sorry for the fat shaming. I was making a joke, but like I feel bad because Raymond Burr struggled with weight, apparently.
You ready for this?
In 56, he looks quite trim. He didn't look large in any way.
I kind of see him there. There was a girl at the movie theater that carded Caleb Craig.
Yeah. Oh, whoa, really?
Who is 1 year older than I am.
Oh, man. He has a baby face, but he's a big guy.
She thought I was his father.
Well, you gotta be... Whoa.
Yes.
Okay, she's just dumb. No, she's just dumb.
No, you think she's just dumb?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I just like, wow, do I look like I'm 40?
Here's your favorite shot, Joe.
That's how old I would have to be to have this as a child.
Godzilla waking up, and I think they edited this a little better in the 85 version, his awakening. It adds to the tension, the awakening, where you get shots, a close-up of Raymond Burr looking really, really intently at the monitors in the war room of Godzilla. And at this point, Super X is downed because, okay, what brings us to the climax of the film is that the nuclear fallout from the missiles exploding in the sky, it awakens Godzilla, but it brings Super X down. Like, Super X, the only thing that seemed to be effective against Godzilla at all is taken to the ground by the sea. Look at the eyes. The eyes were off. Dang it.
Oh, you were right. I did just barely.
A little crooked, cross-eyed.
You know what? They could have spliced Raymond Burr in as part of the Super X crew. So that way they're like...
Oh, he would have went
legitimately
down with it,
against Godzilla, at least in one scene.
Do you think they would have made...
So they cut all the Super X crew scenes out and make their own Super X crew scenes.
Okay, but do you think that they would have died then? Or would it...
No. I think it would be the same thing, because they got Godzilla footage here. They got to use it.
They could have kept the shot, which, other than him falling into the volcano, probably my favorite shot of the film, of Godzilla knocking over, either with his atomic breath, or I don't think he actually pushes it, a skyscraper on top of the Super X, destroying it and its crew. Oh, no, he knocks it over. He's like slamming into it. Because Raymond Burr survived the being in a building that essentially falls over in the original, he could have survived.
Beam.
Yeah, he could have survived the destruction of Super X, so they could have kept the shot. I don't know if Raymond Burr's character, Mr. Martin, needed to survive, though.
I'm just
if
thinking
they had edited him into actually being part of the action here.
If I were given this, like, that would have been another choice. That would have been like, oh, you could just take all the Super X people scenes out and just put an American crew within the Super X. If you were going to do it that way.
But, I mean, then you would have had to add in the dialogue of, like, and it would make it clunky that the Japanese Prime Minister says that, like...
We've got to use the Super X.
The American Super X, right. Apparently.
That's what they would have to do.
They use plenty of Asian actors alongside Raymond Burr. I'm assuming it would have been Asian American actors because they didn't take him out of America to film the 56 stuff.
No, I heard the
they
commentaries.
Could have used Asian American actors alongside Raymond Burr in this 85 in order to do that crew. But that would have been a dignified way, I think, to do that, to really put him into the
part
movie.
Of the action.
It would have been better than the thought of.
But I don't know how you would get a reporter
in
there. That's the hard part right there.
That's true.
Because he wasn't military or anything like that. He was just a reporter.
And he was in 56 as well. You're right.
Yeah.
But he's still like at the center of the action, man.
He was a reporter, and now he's like just a dude that the government goes to for no reason.
Well, and they don't... Yeah, exactly. They go to him for no reason because he didn't have... They're just like, you know about Godzilla.
Hey, you took him down, right? No.
Outside of the story of this movie, you're a prominent actor, right? It's just the thought that the reason they're making 85 is because we didn't have Godzilla 54 here. Like, the only thing we had was 1956.
Yeah.
So they're like, this is the continuation of the original. And the only original we know in America is the one with Raymond Burr.
Oh, that's a pretty good effect shot. I don't think I paid attention to that one before.
The
city in flames and then the Super X just flying over. I was calling it SpaceX. SpaceX is the Elon Musk company.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm a moron.
No.
That's just going to add to the wrong things I say
I've been saying Super X, so we're good.
Super X.
A name. Yasuyuki Inoue. This is the last film for him where he did special effects. He's a special effects art director. He had originally been loaned to Toho to work on the original 1954. To talk about the overall story of 1954/56, the reason the plot in that movie works so well, and it only that movie only gets better upon taking it under a microscope and really examining each of its different parts. Okay. The destruction of Godzilla by the Oxygen Destroyer hinged on the dramatic element of the movie as well, because Emiko's character, I'm trying my best to describe this, Emiko's character needed to face her, I guess, inner demons or her inner struggle of she actually found a man she loves. She's betrothed to the professor who can destroy Godzilla. She knows the only way to destroy Godzilla is through this thing that her betrothed, her person she's supposed to marry, Dr. Serizawa, is in possession of. She doesn't want to face up to the facts that she doesn't want to marry this guy. The only way to save Japan, her country, which she has an allegiance to, she is going against the tradition by finding a guy that she needs to marry, finding him on her own.
Sure.
But then also she has to go against she has to fight against so many things. Inner struggles, the dramatic part of the movie, and man, the only way that movie's going to resolve its tension is through the resolution of the dramatic stuff as well. And they just don't tie in any of the drama with the needing to destroy Godzilla in this movie. It's all separate and not tied together.
The guy who's working on it is the professor, who's the only
54.
guy who could go onto the
because he has a connection with Godzilla.
Yeah,
but there's no love romance that is tied to it.
Crap! Yeah, they Professor could have died, and then been you have to go to this location and do this to the girl.
Yeah,
and then they could have had a chase moment where I just made the screenplay 5% better.
Well,
there you go.
And the amazing part about 54 is that there's so much pushback from everybody against what... So, the professor, which is the father of Emiko in the original, he's not only going against her like
worst paleontologist in the world.
Yeah. He's not a best actor in the movie.
Great actor.
Not only going against Emiko's wishes to marry another guy because he doesn't feel comfortable with that, he's also feels uncomfortable with the fact that they're destroying Godzilla. So he likes the guy that she's betrothed to, Dr. Serizawa, but he doesn't like the fact that Serizawa has this thing that can destroy Godzilla because he doesn't believe Godzilla should be destroyed. So his feelings towards Serizawa are very conflicted. Marry my daughter, don't destroy Godzilla.
Yeah.
There's so much
there's so much good there. And you're disappointed looking at this one because the human conflict is not as well.
The only reason we're able to compare them so closely is because this is like a standalone Godzilla, the beginning of an era.
Godzilla, yeah, kind of.
It's just so much less good of a screenplay, which is just unfortunate.
I'm not going to disagree with you on that point. I do think this one's one of the upper
weaker
Godzillas.
Okay,
honestly,
I'd say lower middle overall.
Lower middle. Okay,
but we're both in agreement. It's somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, and I do think it's better than like half of the show era.
In '85, Joe, this version Godzilla's drawn to bird noises to get to the. It's not like the magnetic beam. Then
what the heck was the professor working on?
He's working on bird noises, Joe.
Is he just
because of Godzilla's bird brain?
Oh, that's dumb. I didn't even catch that. Really?
I'm looking for the fact again, but it's horrendous what they did to change that up. There's so many things I'm pulling from here, but why?
I'm gonna have to look. I gotta find that. Oh, here it is. Here's the Raymond Burr ending quote.
Do you just want to read that? I'll look for my fact.
Nature has a.
So this is actually stated, read by Raymond Burr in the film. I'm going to say.
I'm trying to do a Raymond Burr impersonation. Actually, it's actually impossible in my head. I can't figure it out. Mm-hmm. Nature has a way sometimes of reminding man of just how small he is.
Yeah.
She occasionally throws up the terrible offspring of our pride and carelessness to remind us of how puny we really are in the face of a tornado, an earthquake, or a Godzilla.
Okay.
The reckless ambitions of man are often dwarfed by their dangerous consequences. For now, Godzilla, that strangely innocent and tragic monster, has gone to Earth, whether he returns or not, or is never again seen by human eyes. The things he has taught us remain.
There's so much bad in that. It's rough. It's like you're trying
Not only is it a mouthful, it goes everywhere.
It exactly. It goes all over the place, and it's like when a guy on a college campus, I'm going to tie this in.
Okay.
Is shirtless strumming his acoustic guitar and getting the ladies.
I hate that guy.
He's professing to be deep.
He's never good at the guitar either.
He's professing to be deep here, Joe.
Yeah.
There's no depth to it, however. It's all generic, and it's all easily written.
He says, man, just the word choice. Just the word choice.
Innocent yet
who wrote this damn thing?
Tragic.
Just how small he is. Weak ending to that sentence. She occasionally throws up the terrible... Throws up? We could have used a different verb there.
Yeah.
She occasionally throws up the terrible offspring of our pride and carelessness.
Okay, name the three things.
Carelessness is a little weak there. Carelessness and pride would have been a better one. It's like reverse the words there. To remind us of how puny
we are.
Puny is an awful word for this.
I know, just say small.
Puny is like a comedic term for small. Mm-hmm. It's not, he's puny.
But Joe,
remind us of how puny we really are in the face of a tornado.
Okay.
Nothing in this movie is a tornado. He does not need to list this off.
But he lists them, and he lists them next to Godzilla. Supposedly, they are as big a calamities as Godzilla. Tornado,
an earthquake,
and
a Godzilla.
Or a Godzilla. It's like the levels of intensity of those tragic events. Tornado is 1. An earthquake could vary between like a 3 or a 5, maybe a 7 if it's like an insane earthquake.
0, but yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Just a rumble. Godzilla's an 11.
Yeah.
Godzilla's a destructive worldwide force.
We could have picked hurricane.
I mean,
or he could have said how small we really are, or how puny we really
There's
are
been
in the face of a
multiple-
natural disaster, or even a Godzilla, or something like that, where it's not.
That's
just bad writing, Drew.
Oh, overall, yes.
Okay, there's the Godzilla from Hell.
I found the
shot.
fact here.
I do love
So,
that shot.
or the, yeah. Here's in 85, they're explaining why Godzilla is drawn to this. Through the use of ultrasonic images, Hayashida determines that Godzilla's brain is bird-like, only mutated. Hayashida realizes that Godzilla has a conditioned response to birds chirping and suggests they could duplicate the sound electronically and Godzilla might follow. Hayashida assists the Japanese Emergency Task Force in a plan to coax Godzilla into Mount Miyahara's volcano by emitting the bird sound frequency and hope Godzilla will follow it in the volcano.
Oh my gosh. Oh, dude, are we going to get that Dr. Pepper scene here soon?
We may have already seen it, I'm not sure.
Tell me we haven't seen it yet.
I mean, the effectiveness of the addition of the American footage is just that we're seeing so much more somberness that Godzilla dies, and then it cuts to people looking very somber in the American scenes and people looking very somber in the Japanese. Yeah. So it holds on it longer, and it allows us to have more of an emotional effect.
It's got a different angle and a different lens, which drives me nuts.
Yeah, for sure. The footage looks different.
Yeah. Oh, we gotta have the Dr. Pepper scene here soon.
I
thought it was when he was looking at Godzilla dying.
I think it happened. No, I think it happened back at when they were shooting the missile, Joe.
Oh, you think so?
Yeah, it's unfortunate we missed it.
That's just a tragedy. We missed the Dr. Pepper.
And Joe,
Yeah.
I feel like the female character, the one that's going along with the news reporter,
Yeah.
it just feels like she has more of a full arc in this movie because she's fully against him at the beginning. She does not like him at all.
The reporter
Mhm.
doesn't like the reporter.
She doesn't like the reporter, and yet at the end they're like holding each other, and she looks really relieved at Godzilla's destruction when they're looking down from the helicopter. It just feels more like a full character development rather than in the original where she's lukewarm on him at the beginning. She's lukewarm but slightly more positive on him at the end. But like her character at the beginning of this would not have even touched the news reporter. She's like, "What are you doing? Like, you're just an annoying dude." What's insane, and we didn't even
I'm way
realize
above
it,
your
Joe.
league.
How much of how crazy is it that the news reporter's looking for his scoop after finding the brother of this girl in the shipwreck, and he just happens to be at a professor who knows a lot about Godzilla because the guy's saying it was Godzilla, it was Godzilla. The professor's assistant just happens to be the brother of that shipwreck, like the brother of the guy who was in the shipwreck. That's insane. The chances of that they're non-existent.
You know what's crazy, Drew?
Yeah.
We talked about 1980, so the movie's over.
Yep.
We talked about 1984 last time, and we never mentioned the song.
Which one?
The Godzilla song.
Oh, yeah.
It's
bad.
It's special. It's a special song. It played at the DVD menu, too.
Yeah.
And now, I don't know anything about that song. Maybe I should look it up. I don't know.
So, one fact, this would be the last movie to grace American theater screens, Godzilla movie, up until
Godzilla 2000.
Yeah, I
Which,
think this movie killed any chance of us seeing Versus or Heisei era movies in
I don't know how
theaters.
it did because it made its money. It's just
But just
another
barely.
company didn't want to.
But just barely, and it was critically
Invest, I guess.
panned, Joe. Yeah, nobody... I also think that Toho didn't want... I mean, to this day, Toho is denying the rights of this film to be distributed.
Of this recut, yeah.
I want to say it's Anchor Bay. Anchor Bay acquired what they said was the rights to this film when they acquired the rights to like New World Entertainment libraries. But when they tried to release it on DVD, and I believe Anchor Bay has released other Godzilla movies on DVD, Toho shot them down. They're just stifling the release of this movie. Like, we get this one as fans from a shady and weird fan-constructed version of this on DVD, but...
Hold on.
Are you going to play this?
No, I'm going to play an ad before it actually gets pulled up. This was the ending song for the last one. I do think they have a different song on this one, but So let me get
Maybe
to
we're
some.
going to fast forward it to the chorus. We're going to hear Godzilla. Here we go.
No, pre-chorus. This is
Easy listening. Jazzy. I'm adding the snaps. Here's the chorus. Goodbye now, Godzilla. My friend. Take care now, Godzilla. My old friend.
oh jeez.
See, that's the problem with all of this. He's not friendly in the film in neither version.
I do not understand that.
The recut in this movie, I might get it wrong, but they made Godzilla attack Super X first in this version. So he uses his atomic breath on the Super X, which again goes to, I think the action sequence are caught better. I agree with you. In the Japanese version, the Super X attacks him first. That's the only instance I can think of where Godzilla is seen as like innocently stomping into Tokyo.
So this was a song by the Star Sisters.
Mm-hmm.
Played over the Japanese credits. Here are the lyrics.
Hardcore Godzilla fans were also they were outraged at the not including the shot of Godzilla in the reflection of the skyscraper, the big miniature, the glass one.
Oh, yeah.
Just cut that out. He falls into the side of it, but that's at an angle where you don't see him reflected in the building. Go on.
They must have cut that for time, I guess.
It's just
because
unfortunate.
it's a cool shot. Yeah. So this is Goodbye Now. You turn to leave me. I watch you go. I don't want to cry, but the tears come streaming. I miss you so. She's missing Godzilla.
Wow,
I miss your destruction and all the deaths and property damage. Wow. Somewhere
I
in
miss
the
your
world.
urban renewal project.
Somewhere in the world,
I'm glad you like
you
that.
might find the answers you're looking for. We've never... Oh, jeez. I'll be waiting here when your journey's over.
Answers
Come
you're
back
looking
once
for.
more. I'll be sad and lonely too until we're back together again. Close my eyes and I think of you now and then, my friend.
That's weird.
Goodbye now, Godzilla. Goodbye now, Godzilla. Until then. That's what she says there. Okay. Take care now, Godzilla. Take care now, Godzilla. My old friend.
Hope we didn't pierce your ears too bad, listeners.
Sayonara till we meet again. Now you're far away. I will keep a picture locked in my heart.
Yeah.
I'll remember moments we've shared together while we're apart. I'll be sad and lonely too until we're back together again. Close my eyes and I think of you now and then, my friend. I do want to say that the middle school poetry that is the lyrics to this song are better than Raymond Burr's closing line.
I was about to mention that. Why is everything attached to this so cheesy?
Oh.
Raymond Burr's ending monologue.
But this is the Japanese one. I mean,
Yeah,
I
you're getting the
just never talked
translation.
about it on the last
But
one.
then
I'm
also
mad.
at the beginning of our commentary and in the trailer, that whole like speech, it's just cheesy and makes no sense. I just read through all the changes to this. Like I quickly read through them. We mentioned everything, Joe. We mentioned every difference. So just
okay.
listen to us.
Awesome.
Prior to this,
just listen to us talk, guys.
Like
I know
you
you
already
already talked, but whatever.
that was it.
Goodbye
those were
now,
all the changes.
Godzilla. We've got some drawings, Drew.
Oh wow, 16 minutes shorter. That's what
16.
they probably. Okay, that's including
16 minutes shorter and 10 minutes added. So
Yep.
it was actually 26 minutes
no.
shorter.
This is the 16 minutes is including all the footage added in.
right.
Because it was 12 minutes. 12 minutes was taken out. Anyway, it's 16 minutes
Whatever.
total.
I
So,
don't know.
all right.
I don't know.
This runs only 87 minutes long. Yeah, not a long film at all. Just under an hour and a half. Here's our giveaways, guys.
Okay, Drew. It's been 2 months since we've done this, but we
Unfortunately.
owe our Patreon folks 2 giveaways, 2 kaiju movie giveaways.
Yep. And one person's getting a collection of kaiju.
One
movies.
person is getting a collection of Gamera Gamera movies with other assorted kaiju films. I bought this DVD collection like a few years ago, and I just feel like it, I went through all my DVDs, and it's time to pass around the love. I also have a separate collection of Gamera movies, so I don't need to keep this one around. So this is a great one, I think, for you guys if you want to try out some Gamera, which so far I have watched one. So
sounds like we're getting people into drugs here. If you're already hooked on Godzilla, try out a little bit of Gamera to get your fix on.
There's some other ones too. It's like 3 discs. There's like 13 hours worth of movies on there or something, or 23.
I'm sure
it boasts it on the box.
Very high quality.
I obviously don't have the box in front of me right now, but I know I have it at home. So I'm going to give that one away. And then what do you got?
I have the Sumo Gorilla, Son of Godzilla. This is the uncut Japanese. So you're not going to be paying out the nose like you would for a Son of Godzilla DVD at the moment. I'm not sure when the Criterion releasings for these movies are coming out, and I'm pretty sure one of them is Son of Godzilla. These films are currently on Filmstruck, but if you want to find the DVD of Son of Godzilla right now, it's not going to be super cheap because it's been out of print for a while. That's why we got this Sumo Gorilla Uncut. Yep.
All right. So I'm going to say a big thank you to all of our current patrons. This is
thanks everybody.
Thank you, Ayame Chiba, Taylor Hensley, Joel Klingel, Martin Wright, Chris Britt, Test Pattern. Thank you very much, guys. Go check out the Test Pattern podcast. Jesse Hickman, Jesse Salcido, Ryan Davis, who we owe an episode to, Serrano DB23, who we owe an episode to, Jason Poor, Midnight Tease, Zach Heller, who we owe an episode to, and Chris Jappert.
Currently slated for bonus episodes, probably about 5 more Godzilla Islands. Someday I'll watch Rampage, and we're going to record on that, and 3 Patreon meetup.
Hey,
episodes.
I watched Rampage. You know what?
Episodes.
You know what my general consensus on Rampage is, guys?
What, Joe?
It's way better than Pacific Rim 2.
And you know what? That's what I'm getting from some people who have contacted me through Twitter. Namely, always named out drop Comrade Yui. She or it enjoyed it as well.
We're still not sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Now we have the names picked from April's Patreon. So we're going to go ahead and pick our winners. Which one do we want to give away first?
Let's give away the Monster Movie Collection.
Monster Movie Collection goes to...
Drum roll. Ryan Davis.
Ryan
You are
Davis.
the lucky winner of a collection of kaiju films.
Is this the second time Ryan has won?
I have no idea.
This is an
Joe.
apology for Ryan because me and him have been in talks for like 5 months of me going, Drew's schedule sucks. I'm sorry. Hey, it looks like we got an opening. Oh, sorry, we can't do it.
If we do it a month in advance, I have vacation days. I can schedule a vacation day where I get paid at my work.
If it gets desperate enough, maybe. Okay. I don't want to have you take off vacation days for it. But
I have a couple weeks, so I'm good.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe.
Okay. So Ryan Davis, the lucky winner of the Gamera collection of movies, including some other kaiju.
Yeah, some other kaiju movies. I wish I brought the DVD down with me. I could list them off because I thought about it. I was like, I'm going to give that one away.
So our second winner, Joe, So it's appropriate that we're giving away Son of Godzilla. I learned through research for this Godzilla 85 podcast. I'll probably mention it again sometime throughout this podcast. Probably already have. The inspiration, apparently, for the news reporter in this film, the one that's hitting on the little sister, Akira Kubo's character in Son of Godzilla.
Nice.
The news reporter that falls onto the island. So, very appropriate. All right, Son of Godzilla. Going to be giving that one away. Again, uncut Japanese. Drum roll to Serrano DB23.
So, hey,
I
Serrano,
swear
we also owe you an episode.
We are not just picking out the highest Patreon donors. It's the luck of the draw, guys.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah.
It's got a randomized program on here.
So thank you guys. You have earned, hard-earned some DVDs for your support for the podcast. Thanks for sponsoring this episode. Next time, guys, we are giving away the Nika Godzilla 1985 figure. Packaged, the packaging at the top, it came a little munched, but you can fix that easily because some people prefer to keep their action figures packaged, and the packaging is quite cool in this Nika figure.
But it's not your fault that it's all buggered up.
No, this was so the website, Joe. Just funny story. AliExpress was the website I purchased this from. It is a legit figure from Nika. Oh, my goodness, though, this website. It was the only place that I could find a reasonably priced figure because they were going for upwards of like $35, $40 at the time. I was looking up these figures. The actual retail price, however, of them is more like in the $20, $25 range. So I found it on AliExpress. I place my order, get the confirmation, and one of the stipulations for this being at a reasonable price, they're like, thank you for your order. You will receive it in the next 2 to 3 months. It's like, okay, so I'll just totally forget about that, and then it'll show up one day and be like, what the heck is this package? Got Chinese lettering all over it.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, and actually we just fixed the packaging ourselves, so it's really not in too terrible of a condition. Yeah, all snapped together. If you ever go to a Toys R Us, unfortunately, which are shutting down sometime within the year,
you say
probably.
Unfortunately, but they never took care of their stores and they sucked. But go ahead.
I enjoy my local Toys R Us over there in Orem. They have Godzilla figures, this Nika line from like all the movies, different Godzillas. The ones that they always had, they were usually sold out of all the figures except for the Godzilla from Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla and the Godzilla from the 2014 Gareth Edwards film. So I'm like, if I could have picked up this Godzilla there, it would have been the same price. I think for some reason they're the least popular, but those are the ones I always saw in store.
So we do have... So we're going to be giving away that to an iTunes reviewer.
Yep.
Okay, good.
We've received quite a few. We really appreciate it. Speaking of iTunes reviews, we have one to read.
Yep.
I'll read that. Pulling it up right now.
Yeah, I don't have it pulled up, so you got to take it.
Hex182 gave us 4 stars. Darn you. I'm just kidding.
No!
Oh, no. Somebody slighted us slightly.
It's okay.
4 stars is still great.
I listened to our old episodes and I'm like, we were wrong there. We were wrong there.
Oh, no. All over the place. We do our best.
We learn things as we go along. We'll learn things about the previous movies and we'll be like,
and I'll get into it. Well, I've already gotten into it in our podcast. Why it feels like we have a clean slate now. All right. Anyway. Go Godzilla, the title of the review.
Godzilla.
Woo-hoo. This podcast attempts to share and analyze the extensive Godzilla film library. As a huge fan of these absurd creature features, I share the host's passion for the kaiju calamity. It's pretty good. The only frustrating part at times is the inability of the host to accept the outrageous decisions of the creative teams behind these films. I don't feel like we have to accept the outrageous decisions, but that's just my perspective.
All right.
They are decades old and often had little to no budget, at least the later half of the Showa era, middle-ish. Godzilla, for the most part, is not high art. Never said it was. Still, there is plenty of creativity packed into Godzilla from 40 years ago. Absolutely agree. Than most big-budget films made today, especially 54. Godzilla taps into every child's fantasy of being large and powerful and destroying everything in your path. I mean, who doesn't love watching 2 colossal monsters, stuntman and rubber suits, beat the heck out of one another on a miniature cityscape, pyrotechnics, and the chance to be set on fire? Amazing. All capitals with exclamation marks. Take the time to wade through this library with these guys. It's well worth the journey. Thank you so much. Rock out with your kaiju out on the Godzilla podcast.
Perfect.
Yeah,
that's a really good review.
You.
Hey, you're in the running for the figure.
Yeah. As is everybody else who has not won and written us a review. You can leave a review without writing anything, but as much as we appreciate that, because it definitely does help in our standings on when you look us up in iTunes, we're not going to pick from people who don't write something.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible for us to see those people. So,
exactly.
I mean, that's part of it.
Suddenly one week we jumped up 5 reviews, which is a lot for us in a week, but then
awesome.
nobody...
5 ratings.
Wrote something.
5 ratings.
Ratings. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
Drew, let them know where they can find us. They can find me at Joseph DeGollier.
It's DEGOLYER.
DEGOLYER.
DeGollier. I'm Drew Daybell, so you can look up Drew Daybell, DAYBELL, or Gojira Jaeger. That's JAEGER.
And oh geez, where am I? Where's my mind?
Just began.
Our website is godzillapodcast.com, where you can leave comments on the episodes if you want.
A few people have revived the forums as of recently, and we really appreciate anybody that writes stuff. That
anybody
reviews.
That's not a Nude Clan audience member. That's mostly what the forum is.
Oh, yeah.
It's for the whole
you guys,
podcast network. But there is a little area there for Godzilla.
Yeah.
If you want to support the show and, be in the running for these giveaways, once a month, we're giving away a kaiju movie. You can go to patreon.com and you can just find the Godzilla podcast on there, or you can click through the link on our site. You can also click through the Amazon link, small kickback, for everything that you buy there.
Yeah.
And there's a PayPal thing if you want to give directly to the show. That's cool. I mean, or not. Or you can just listen and give a review. That's a great way to
free
support the show, too.
For you guys. We're going to keep chugging along here.
And what's our next movie, Drew?
Our next
Besides
one,
possibly Rampage?
Oh, God. Well, that'd be our bonus. The next commentary track will be dropped on the film Godzilla vs. Biolanta.
Godzilla vs. Biolanta.
And that's supposedly what I've gathered in my research, is that is a direct continuation from this film.
Nice.
So we'll certainly mention the events of this film.
But not the Raymond Burr one.
No,
the other one.
No.
Okay, good.
All right.
That
was it. Thanks, guys. Keep on the lookout for that second part of the anime movie coming out. And it's in a few months, but this year.
So hopefully before our next commentary.
I don't know. We'll just have to see.
All right.
Still lots of stuff's coming out about it, but thanks, guys. Keep it G.